Chosen one, heaven has paused time itself to reach you. The wind stills, the noise of the world fades, and in this holy stillness, God whispers a word He has never spoken to you before. You can sense it, your spirit trembling, your heart awakening as eternity leans close. You were never meant to scroll past this moment. You were led here. Every distraction around you has been silenced by divine order, so that nothing interrupts what is unfolding now. You have felt unseen, overlooked, perhaps even forgotten, but heaven never forgets its chosen. While others rushed ahead, God held you in the secret place, molding you, refining you through fire. Every delay was divine protection. Every closed door was a mercy in disguise. The angels have watched you wrestle through seasons of confusion, yet you did not break. You stood when you had every reason to fall. And now, heaven speaks your name in a tone reserved only for the marked ones. Listen carefully. This is not coincidence. This is not a random message. This is divine intervention. You are being called higher. You are being pulled out of ordinary time into destiny's hour. What others call chance, heaven calls appointment. God has chosen this very moment to breathe clarity into your chaos, to remind you who you are, not who the world labeled you, not who pain tried to make you, but who He destined you to become before the foundations of the world. Chosen one. Something sacred happens when you finally stop running from what you were created for. This message is your awakening call. It's the sound of divine realignment. Heaven is shifting the atmosphere around your life, preparing new doors that only your obedience can unlock. You have prayed for confirmation. This is it. You have asked for a sign. This is the sign. Every word that follows is a divine decree meant to stir the embers of your faith back into flame. There will be those who doubt you, who mock your sudden boldness, who whisper that you've changed, and they will be right. You have changed, because the hand of God is resting upon you. You are being set apart for something that no one else can carry. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, to shine as a torchbearer of divine fire. Your presence itself disrupts darkness. That is why the attacks intensified. That is why it felt like hell opened its gates against you, because hell only fights what heaven has favored. But this time, you are not fighting alone. Heaven stands with you. Angels have been dispatched to guard the territory of your destiny. Every trap set against you will backfire. Every weapon formed against you will fail. You are stepping into a realm of divine momentum where nothing can stop what God has decreed. The pain of your past will become the oil of your anointing. The tears you shed in secret will water the soil of your promise. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." That verse is not just a metaphor, it is a prophecy over your life. You are the city on the hill. You are the light that cannot be hidden. And no darkness, no rejection, no betrayal. No fear has the power to extinguish what God Himself has ignited within you. Now, pause for a moment and breathe in this truth. You are chosen. You are seen. You are loved beyond measure. The Creator of galaxies has written your name in His plan. He did not make a mistake when He formed you. Every flaw, every scar, every strange path you took was woven into a masterpiece only heaven could design. You stand at the edge of transformation. and this word is your invitation to step into it fully. Do not let this moment pass like another fleeting video or passing thought. This is holy ground disguised in digital form. Heaven has paused the scroll of your life to remind you your time has come. If this message is stirring your spirit, let it echo back to heaven. Like, share, and comment below the number 777 as a prophetic act, declaring that you receive this word. Let your comment be your covenant with destiny, a signal that you are ready to rise. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to stay connected to the flow of anointing that heaven is releasing in this season. The next sound you hear will not be ordinary. The next door that opens will not be random. From this point forward, everything begins to align. Heaven is watching, waiting for your yes. Step into the divine pause. For God has spoken, and He has spoken to you. You feel it, don't you? Chosen one, the invisible seal of heaven that rests upon you. You've sensed it since childhood. That quiet difference, that sacred separation that made you wonder why you never fit in. There were moments you tried to hide it, to blend among the ordinary, to silence the strange fire burning inside. But destiny does not dim just because you pretend not to see its glow. You have always been marked. Even before you understood what the mark meant, heaven did not choose you at random. You were written into the divine script long before you spoke your first word, when you were still unseen, when no one expected greatness from you. The Father whispered your name into eternity. The angels nodded. The heavens recorded it. That is why certain battles followed you. They were not punishments, they were proof of calling. Darkness recognized what you carried before you did. You wonder sometimes why you attract both favor and warfare. It's because of the mark. You are a carrier of promise, and the adversary sees in you what others overlook, the evidence of divine election. Every disappointment was designed to harden you into a vessel that could hold glory without breaking. Every betrayal trained your heart to love with discernment. Every silence from heaven was not rejection, it was refinement. You are being sculpted into something immortal. While others chase recognition, you are being prepared for revelation. God has hidden you not to punish, but to protect. In the secret place, you are learning the language of heaven, the rhythm of obedience, the melody of trust. It is here, away from applause, that your identity is sealed. The mark you carry is not visible to human eyes, yet it glows fiercely in the spiritual realm. Demons recoil at your presence. Angels stand guard around you. The atmosphere shifts when you enter a room because the kingdom of God moves with you. You may think you are walking through ordinary days, but heaven sees a warrior wrapped in mortal skin, a flame disguised as flesh. There are moments when loneliness visits, when misunderstanding cuts deep, when you wonder why your road is narrow. It is because few are chosen to walk this path. You are not called to crowds, you are called to impact. There will be seasons of separation before elevation, isolation before revelation. The divine mark on your life demands pruning. You cannot carry excess weight into the realm of promise. Chosen one, do not despise the process. The mark you bear is proof that you belong to another kingdom. You will always feel restless in the world because you were never made to belong to it. You are heaven's ambassador stationed on earth, a fragment of divine intention wrapped in time. The things that frustrate you are often the very things that forge you. What you call delay, heaven calls preparation. Look back for a moment. Every tear you shed was noticed. Every time you almost gave up, but didn't. Heaven took note. The mark upon you is made of those very moments, proof of perseverance, of faith that refused to die. When people see you and do not understand you, it's because they cannot read divine language. The anointing upon you is too complex for casual observers. You were designed to disturb the comfortable and comfort the broken. The light within you exposes falsehood, not by shouting, but simply by existing. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. The mark is not just a sign of belonging, it is a call to responsibility. To be chosen is to be entrusted. God does not brand you for comfort, but for conquest. You carry heaven's DNA, and heaven expects you to manifest it on earth. That is why mediocrity agitates you. You were built for more. The ordinary cannot satisfy you because you were designed to live in the extraordinary. Do not compare your path to others. Their journey may look easier, but they were not built for the same weight. You are not behind, you are in process. Heaven's timing is deliberate, and your obedience keeps unlocking the next phase of it. Every season, even the painful ones, is perfectly calibrated to refine your purpose. Remember, the mark you carry is not a burden, it is evidence of favor. The world may misunderstand you, but eternity applauds you. You are the evidence that God still chooses people in secret before revealing them in glory. The seal over your life cannot be erased by failure or fear. You belong to the Almighty, and that truth will follow you into every battle and every blessing that lies ahead. You've carried so much. Chosen one, more than most could bear. The invisible weight pressing on your shoulders has shaped your very soul. Every battle that broke others only bent you. Every night you cried in silence became a sacred altar of strength. You didn't realize it then, but heaven was recording every tear as testimony. The pain you endured was never punishment. It was proof that God trusted you with warfare few could survive. Every storm had an assignment to strip away the unnecessary and reveal what could not be shaken. You've walked through valleys others only read about. You've faced betrayal, loss, and confusion. Yet somehow you still stand. That endurance is not ordinary. It is divine evidence. It shows that your spirit is anchored deeper than emotions, rooted in purpose that refuses to die. Many do not understand how you're still here. You should have been destroyed by what you went through. Yet the fire did not consume you, it refined you. Like gold in the furnace, the impurities burned away until only divine strength remained. You carry scars, yes, but they are sacred marks of survival. Heaven calls them beauty. There were moments when you questioned whether God even saw you. The silence felt like abandonment. You prayed, and the heavens seemed closed. You begged for signs, but only shadows answered. Still, you held on. You whispered prayers when faith felt foolish. You believed when everything around you told you to quit. That persistence was not weakness, it was worship. You kept believing because something deep inside you knew this pain had purpose. Chosen one. God saw every hidden battle. He saw when you smiled in public but broke in private. He saw the nights you said, "I can't do this anymore," yet woke up and kept going. That is the weight you've carried, not just physical burdens, but spiritual ones, too heavy for human strength. But here's the truth: you were never meant to carry it alone. Heaven has been walking beside you, strengthening you in silence. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." No, those words are not ancient poetry. They are present comfort. God was closest to you in the very moments you felt most alone. He wasn't absent. He was refining you, teaching you to rely not on circumstance, but on presence. Every heartbreak was birthing new compassion. Every loss was teaching you how to love like Him deeply, selflessly, eternally. The weight you've carried is now becoming the wisdom you will carry forward. The very things that wounded you are the things that will empower your voice. When you speak, chains will break because your words carry experience, not theory. You will look into the eyes of those suffering and say, "I know." And the atmosphere will shift because heaven recognizes authenticity. Don't resent your past. Redeem it. Every hardship has equipped you to lead others out of darkness. Your story is not over. It's about to become someone else's lifeline. You've been through the wilderness so you can guide others through it. You survived the storm so you could carry light into the lives of those still drowning. That's why the enemy fought so hard to silence you. He feared the day you would realize that your suffering was not meaningless. It was a weapon being forged. You are that weapon now, sharp, unbreakable, and radiant with purpose. The very weight that once crushed you has become your crown. Now, chosen one, it's time to let heaven hear your agreement. Comment, "I am ready." Say it not as routine, but as declaration. When you write those 3 words, you are making a prophetic statement to your own future. You are telling heaven you will no longer shrink under the weight, you will rise because of it. You are telling darkness that the pain it caused only made you stronger, and you are reminding yourself that readiness is not perfection, it's willingness. When you say, "I am ready," you align with divine timing. You tell the heavens that the waiting season has done its work and that your spirit is prepared for the next chapter. Because readiness is not about having everything figured out, it's about trusting that God does. The same God who carried you through heartbreak will carry you into purpose. The same God who allowed pain to shape you will allow destiny to unfold through you. The weight you've carried will one day make sense. And when that day comes, you will stand as living proof that endurance is never wasted. Heaven will point to you and say, "This one learned how to carry the cross without losing the crown." You are living testimony that broken does not mean finished. There comes a sacred moment. Chosen one. When the veil begins to lift, you feel it first as a tremor in your spirit, an awareness that the atmosphere around you is changing. Suddenly, what was once confusing begins to make divine sense. The long silence from heaven begins to echo with hidden meaning. You start to realize that what you thought were coincidences were actually coordinates, signs guiding you toward this exact moment. When the veil lifts, truth is no longer something you read about. It becomes something you breathe. You start to see that every detour was deliberate, every delay strategic. Heaven had been orchestrating what seemed like chaos, weaving threads of pain and hope into one divine pattern. You didn't miss your moment, it was being prepared while you waited. The stillness wasn't absence, it was alignment. You are beginning to perceive the world differently now. Your eyes are adjusting to heavenly light. You start to notice how certain people fade away just before breakthrough. How doors close that once tempted you away from your purpose. You begin to sense that some battles were not meant to destroy you, but to develop your discernment. The veil lifting means seeing beyond what hurts into what heals. It's the moment your spirit catches up to the truth. Heaven has known all along that you were never forsaken, only fortified. Chosen one. This unveiling is divine mercy. God removes the veil not to overwhelm you, but to prepare you. He reveals just enough for you to walk by faith, not by sight. When the spiritual fog begins to clear, you realize that the same God who allowed the wilderness is the one guiding you out of it. Every test was training your vision. You can now recognize the subtle presence of God in moments that used to feel ordinary, even in silence. You feel His whisper. Even in darkness, you perceive His light. Your awareness deepens. You begin to understand that spiritual sight doesn't depend on what your eyes see, but on what your spirit believes. The veil of illusion, fear, doubt, and human limitation is torn away, revealing a reality greater than what you thought possible. You see purpose in pain, wisdom in waiting, and beauty in brokenness. There is a holy trembling that comes with revelation. Once the veil lifts, you can no longer live like before. The light changes you. What once satisfied you now feels shallow. What once distracted you now feels heavy. You become hungry for truth, thirsty for presence, desperate for purity. You stop chasing applause and start seeking alignment. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." No, those ancient words are alive right now in your story. The vision God placed in you was never cancelled, only concealed until the appointed time. That time is drawing near. The delay you felt was not denial. It was divine timing, ripening in silence. Heaven does not rush because heaven never doubts the outcome. God knows the exact moment when revelation must unfold. And when it does, everything aligns swiftly. When the veil lifts, you begin to forgive what once haunted you. You realize that bitterness was only blindness. The people who hurt you were part of the plan. They were chisels shaping your spirit. The moments that broke you were actually bending you toward purpose. The lifting of the veil replaces resentment with revelation. And suddenly peace floods in, where pain once ruled. You see that nothing was wasted, not even your waiting. And now, as your eyes adjust to what God is showing you, the world begins to look smaller while eternity grows larger. You sense that your life is not random, it's prophetic. You start to live with holy expectation, knowing that the next moment could be the one heaven has been preparing for years. The veil lifts, and with it, fear falls away. This is your awakening. Chosen one, not the end of your struggle, but the beginning of your sight. Heaven is allowing you to see through the lens of purpose, to walk by divine insight rather than emotion. The revelation you are receiving now will anchor you for what is to come. Keep your heart open, your spirit alert, and your faith steady. For when God opens your eyes, He also opens your path. Before the stars were hung, before oceans roared, or time began to tick, you were already in the mind of God. Chosen one. Your existence was not a spontaneous spark, it was a deliberate design. Heaven drafted your story before the first sunrise ever painted the sky. You are not a coincidence. You are a continuation of divine intention. When Scripture says that you were chosen before the foundation of the world, it means your calling is older than your fears. The love that called you forth existed before you ever failed, before you ever doubted, before you ever dreamed. You were already seen, already wanted, already loved. The world may have labeled you too late or too small, but heaven whispered long ago, right on time, perfectly made. You may wonder how your ordinary days could possibly hold such eternal weight, but think of it this way. Every sunrise is a love letter from God, reminding creation that He still believes in renewal. And every breath you take is a continuation of that belief. You are not living by accident, you are living on assignment. The small moments, the unnoticed kindness, the quiet prayers whispered in the dark, all of it carries echoes of eternity. There were times you looked around and saw others succeeding faster, shining brighter. But the Lord does not measure light by the speed of its spread, He measures it by its source. You are connected to the source that never flickers. Even when your flame seems small, it is sustained by eternal fire. God never intended you to compete with others. He intended you to complete a specific piece of His grand design. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Ephesians. Chapter 1, verse 4. For He chose us in Him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in His sight. Now, that is not an ancient statement, it's a living covenant. You were chosen not just to survive, but to shine with holiness, to reflect God's nature in a world hungry for meaning. You carry a frequency that resonates with heaven. That is why ordinary life often feels too small for you. It is because your spirit remembers eternity. Chosen one. Imagine your life as a river flowing through time. Some parts are calm, some are rapid, and others seem to disappear underground. But all of it is heading toward the same ocean, the fulfillment of God's purpose. The bends and turns that confuse you now are shaping the path that will one day make sense from above. And as you journey, know this: even rivers need banks to guide their flow. That's why communities of faith, acts of kindness, and shared devotion matter. When you support what carries light, whether through prayer, sharing a message, or giving from the heart, you are shaping the riverbanks that keep living water flowing. So if these words have touched something deep within you, if you feel heaven tugging at your spirit through this message, let that stirring translate into action. Like this message as an act of acknowledgement, a simple Amen in digital form. Share it. Not for fame, but because someone else might be standing where you once stood, in confusion, in pain, in silence, and your share could be the bridge that brings them home. If your heart feels moved to support or donate, do it not out of obligation, but as a seed of gratitude. Think of it as planting a tree in a garden that will feed others long after you've passed by. Every seed sown into light multiplies in unseen ways. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not as a follower of a channel, but as a participant in a divine conversation that doesn't end here. Because this isn't just a message, it's a movement of awakening souls who remember who they are. When you align with it, you help amplify the sound of heaven on earth. You become part of a living echo that says, "We are chosen, and we will not stay silent." You may never know how many lives your simple act of sharing or supporting will touch. You may never see the faces of those set free by the words you helped carry, but heaven will. And heaven remembers generosity, not by amount, but by intent. Chosen one. Every ripple begins with one drop. Every revival begins with one willing heart. Your small obedience today might be the spark that lights 1,000 candles tomorrow. You are part of something eternal, bigger than any algorithm, deeper than any trend. So walk forward with quiet confidence, knowing that before time began, the Father looked across eternity and said, "This one I choose, this one." And he was talking about you. The moment you began to awaken, the voices of resistance started to rise. You may have noticed it: sudden distractions, unusual conflict, strange heaviness pressing against your spirit. Chosen one. That is not coincidence. The very atmosphere knows when heaven begins to move in your life. When God marks someone for elevation, opposition intensifies. Darkness recognizes what you are about to become, and it trembles. Every delay, every whisper of doubt, every sudden obstacle has one purpose: to silence your faith before your breakthrough speaks. The enemy fears your awakening more than your failure. He cannot destroy what God has sealed, so he tries to distort how you see yourself. He whispers, "You're unworthy. You're unprepared. You're too late." Because he knows that if you ever believe the truth of who you are, his hold over your life collapses completely. The resistance you feel is not proof that you are off course. It is confirmation that you are close to destiny. Heaven and hell do not fight over what is insignificant. The battle around you reveals the value within you. Every storm you face is proof that something holy is being born in your spirit. Chosen one. You must understand. Resistance often disguises itself as routine. It shows up in weariness, in distractions, in the subtle temptation to quit. But those who endure this pressure learn to discern divine patterns in the chaos. When darkness tries to speak louder, heaven trains your ear to listen deeper. The louder the noise, the greater the breakthrough on the horizon. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 13, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." Those words are not distant comfort. They are your lifeline right now. God has already woven escape routes into every challenge. You are not trapped. You are being trained. You are not defeated. You are being refined. Every confrontation is crafting courage in you. Every closed door is teaching you to find new paths in prayer. The voices of resistance often come clothed in familiarity, people who doubt your vision, environments that drain your spirit, habits that chain your time. Yet none of these are strong enough to hold back what heaven has decreed. The only true danger is forgetting who you are. That's why the enemy attacks identity first. If he can make you question your worth, he can slow your walk toward destiny. But if you remember your mark, if you remember that heaven chose you before time, every lie loses its power. Listen closely. Chosen one. The presence of resistance means you are moving in the right direction. When you walk toward light, shadows appear. Do not fear the shadows. They only exist because you are carrying fire. The greater your glow, the more they stretch and twist, but they cannot touch the source of your flame. You are not the hunted, you are the herald. The enemy does not chase weakness, he chases purpose, and yours is radiant. So, when the resistance rises, Stand firm. Worship louder. Pray deeper. Move forward, even when it hurts. Heaven is watching to see if you'll surrender to pressure or step into power. Remember, even Jesus faced storms while crossing to the other side, but every storm he faced was proof that deliverance awaited beyond it. When you feel weary, remind yourself that every resistance has an expiration date. Darkness cannot persist where divine light has been ignited. The moment you choose not to quit, victory begins to unfold. The spiritual opposition around you is nothing compared to the power within you. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. And now, to anchor this revelation in your heart, do one prophetic act. Comment the number 333 below. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. 3 represents divine completeness. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, working in perfect unity. When you type 333, you are declaring that you choose alignment over anxiety, faith over fear, and purpose over pressure. You're saying, I trust that what resists me will soon reveal me. End of T. Let that number be your statement of surrender and strength. It's a way of writing into the atmosphere, my story is still in God's hands. Every time you see that number, let it remind you that heaven's timing is never late, and heaven's protection never fails. Chosen one. Hold steady. Resistance is not a wall, it's a doorway disguised as opposition. Step through it. Beyond this battle lies the clarity, peace, and authority you were meant to carry all along. There is a moment, chosen one, when the waiting becomes unbearable, when your prayers seem to echo into an endless silence. You've fasted, cried, believed, and yet the promise feels suspended in the air like thunder that never breaks into rain. You begin to wonder, did I hear God wrong? Did I miss my time? But heaven has not forgotten you. Delay is not denial, it is divine choreography. What feels like pause to you is preparation to God. You must understand that divine timing does not bend to human impatience. Every season serves a sacred purpose. There are moments when heaven seems quiet, not because God is far, but because He is near, working beneath the surface of your life, like a seed hidden in soil. You cannot see the growth, but you can trust it's happening. The silence between promise and fulfillment is where faith either matures or withers. In that quiet waiting, God refines the heart. He teaches you to separate desire from destiny, noise from guidance. The breaking of delay begins not when circumstances change, but when your spirit aligns, when you stop asking, when will it happen, and start declaring, even if it doesn't. You still believe. Something shifts in heaven's courts. That surrender unlocks movement. The delay is a test of endurance and trust. If God gave you everything too soon, you might mistake blessing for entitlement. But in waiting, you learn the rhythm of dependence. You realize that miracles are not earned, they are entrusted. Heaven releases power to those who have proven that their hearts can hold it without pride. Chosen one. You are standing at the edge of breaking. The tension you feel right now is not punishment, it is labor pain. Something inside you is pushing toward manifestation. Every spiritual contraction you experience those moments of frustration, exhaustion, or holy restlessness means new life is about to emerge. When it feels hardest to hold on, that is when heaven whispers, push. Oh, Heaven speaks clearly through the words in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 22. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Oh, those words are both promise and prophecy. They remind you that divine timing is never random. You will not miss what was meant for you, because God Himself is the keeper of your seasons. When the time is right, nothing can delay it. When the time is wrong, nothing can rush it. Heaven is precise. What seems late is actually perfect alignment, unfolding at a level beyond your sight. So when delay lingers, shift your focus from waiting for to becoming ready. The waiting season is not wasted time, it's sacred training. You are being shaped to sustain what you once only dreamed of. If the door hasn't opened yet, it's because the foundation must first be strengthened. God refuses to bless what cannot hold His glory. He loves you too much to let you crumble under the weight of answered prayer. And in that space between now and fulfillment, miracles are quietly forming. Divine connections are being woven. Opportunities are aligning. The promise is being prepared just as you are being prepared for it. Heaven never delays without design. You may not see it yet, but one morning you will wake up and realize the waiting season has ended. You'll step into fulfillment so naturally that you'll almost forget how long you waited. The door will open. The call will come. The opportunity will appear, and you'll understand why it took time. You will see that the years of quiet weren't wasted. They were the years God built strength into your spirit. Chosen one. The breaking of delay begins not outside but within you. The voices of resistance often come clothed in familiarity, people who doubt your vision, environments that drain your spirit, habits that chain your time. Yet none of these are strong enough to hold back what heaven has decreed. The only true danger is forgetting who you are. That's why the enemy attacks identity first. If he can make you question your worth, he can slow your walk toward destiny. And when it does, you'll realize that every second of silence was worth it, for the sound of fulfillment always drowns the echoes of delay. When you stop fighting the process, you create space for promise. When you stop asking, "How long?" and instead whisper, "I trust you," heaven responds. The earth begins to move. Unseen hands rearrange circumstances, and suddenly what was held back begins to flow freely. Your delay is ending. The clouds are thinning. You may not hear thunder yet, but the air is heavy with rain. Stay steady. The next breath, the next sunrise, could be the moment the weight breaks wide open. It burns away the residue of fear, the weight of disappointment, the ashes of old battles. It cleanses you from hesitation and clothes you with conviction. What was heavy begins to lift. What was unclear begins to glow with revelation. You are not being consumed. You are being refined. This is the holy fire that prepares warriors of light to walk boldly into their next assignment. The journey so far has pressed you hard, but pressure was the spark's birthplace. You are the lamp that the potter shaped from clay, and now the breath of God fills you. Every trial you endured was fuel, every tear oil. When the world tried to bury you, it didn't realize it was planting kindling for divine ignition. You are not a survivor, only you are a flame bearer. You may have wondered why others seem unaffected while your spirit feels constantly stirred. It's because your soul is wired to respond to heaven's frequency. Ordinary things can't satisfy you anymore. Temporary pleasures feel hollow. You are drawn to truth. to purpose, to presence. That hunger is evidence of fire. The Spirit is awakening your sensitivity so you can carry His power with precision. This inner blaze is your compass. It will lead you through confusion when logic fails. But fire, though beautiful, is demanding. It asks for surrender. It cannot be contained in comfort. To carry divine fire means to accept continual transformation. You cannot hold on to the old version of yourself and expect to burn with new light. The flames will insist on consuming everything that hinders purity, pride, fear, bitterness, self-doubt. It will hurt at first, but soon you will realize it is mercy, not cruelty. Fire is God's way of removing what cannot follow you into the next season. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 2. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. That moment wasn't just history, it was a pattern. God revealed Himself through fire that consumed without destroying. The same happens within you now. Heaven ignites your soul, yet you remain whole. You are the modern burning bush, ordinary form, extraordinary flame. When people see your endurance, your peace in chaos, your love amid hatred, they are witnessing divine fire that refuses to go out. Fire gives light, and light reveals paths. That is why revelation comes alive in burning hearts. The more you yield, the clearer your direction becomes. When fear whispers, you are lost. The flame inside answers, I am guided. The more you nurture that flame through worship, truth, and silence before God, the brighter it becomes. Fire doesn't shout, it simply glows until darkness cannot ignore it. And yet, chosen one, be prepared. The fire will attract both seekers and skeptics. Some will be drawn to its warmth, others irritated by its brightness. Do not shrink. The flame in you is not up for negotiation. You were lit by divine intent, and those who misunderstand you were never meant to manage your light. Do not apologize for burning. The world grows cold, and heaven is raising torches. Still, be wise. Fire without direction becomes wildfire. Passion without discipline can wound instead of heal. God will teach you to balance zeal with wisdom, boldness with compassion. You will learn when to speak with thunder and when to whisper with grace. The Spirit will train you to carry heat without burning bridges, to shine without blinding. That is the mark of mature fire, a vessel that radiates warmth and guidance, not destruction. There will be days when your flame flickers, when exhaustion tempts you to let it fade. But remember, the same God who lit it is faithful to sustain it. Feed the fire with truth, protect it with prayer, and guard it with purity. You have felt the stirring for some time now. Chosen one, the warmth in your chest when you pray, the sudden boldness in your words, the rising courage that feels unfamiliar yet ancient. That is not emotion, that is fire. The same fire that once fell upon prophets and apostles is now being rekindled within you. Heaven has reached into your spirit and struck a match. And what was once smoke and ember is bursting into flame. This fire within you is not for destruction, but for purification. When others see only ashes, heaven sees a torch rising. Let the fire within you burn with steady grace. For it is the same eternal flame that once called Moses. that now calls you. The air around you has changed. Chosen one, something unseen is gathering an awareness that you are not alone in this unfolding moment. Heaven has sent witnesses. The invisible realm is no longer silent. It is leaning close, watching, recording. Angels stand at attention, surrounding you like living flames, observing the one God has marked to rise. This is no longer just about your personal faith. This is about divine history being written through your obedience. Every act of surrender, every whispered prayer, every time you resisted temptation, heaven noticed. Angels were dispatched, not because of your perfection, but because of your perseverance. You have become a living testimony that faith can survive fire. And now, those heavenly beings who once watched over you in silence begin to rejoice, because they see what you are about to step into. The angelic realm operates in awe of redemption. They have seen God's glory from eternity, yet they marvel when a human heart chooses Him freely. They are witnesses of your becoming. Every time you forgive when it hurts, every time you worship through tears, every time you choose light over bitterness, their song grows louder. They celebrate victories you do not even know you've won. Chosen one, you are never unseen. You walk through your days thinking you're alone, but heaven walks with you. Angels have guarded your path through unseen dangers. They have lifted your spirit when despair tried to drown you. Every time you survived what should have broken you, it was not luck, it was divine intervention. Heaven has been partnering with your persistence, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old, found in Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 14. Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? Those words are not metaphor, they are movement. Angels are not distant relics of ancient faith, they are active. Loyal servants assigned to the chosen, you have more support than you realize. The unseen realm is not fantasy, it is foundation. The very air around you hums with divine activity. Heaven is not far, it is near, layered over the natural world like breath over glass. There are moments you feel a sudden peace after prayer, or warmth on your shoulders when you weep. That is often angelic presence. They do not seek attention, they seek obedience. Their mission is to strengthen you until you become unshakable. When you speak words of faith, they respond. When you declare God's promises, they move. Your voice in prayer becomes their signal for battle. Right now, heaven's hosts are preparing for your next season. You are stepping into greater authority, and angelic alignment always precedes divine assignment. The warfare around you lately has not been random, it has been spiritual rearrangement. Every obstacle you faced was a prelude to reinforcement. Heaven does not send cavalry to empty fields. If angels are moving, it means victory is near. But remember, chosen one, angels do not replace your faith, they respond to it. You must keep speaking truth, even when you cannot see the results. When you declare life, heaven echoes it. When you act with love, angels amplify the impact. Every good seed you plant is multiplied by divine hands you cannot see. You may never physically behold them, but their presence is real. There is no need for fear, because heaven never abandons its own. Your story is surrounded by light, even in your darkest night. Invisible warriors keep watch. They whisper courage, when exhaustion speaks louder. They lift your head when shame tries to bow it. You are never walking alone, not even for a heartbeat. Chosen one. Take a breath. The same heaven that watches over galaxies watches over you. You are part of a kingdom that never sleeps, guarded by grace and guided by love. So, when your path feels lonely, remember this: the unseen is more crowded than the seen. Now, seal this truth within you with a prophetic act. Comment, "Heaven sees me." Say it and mean it. These 3 words are not mere text, they are declaration. When you write them, you are announcing to every opposing force, I am not invisible, and I am not unguarded. You're reminding your own heart that the silence is not emptiness, it is observation. Heaven watches, heaven records, and heaven responds. When you type those words, let them settle deep. Heaven sees me means you refuse to interpret isolation as abandonment. It means you trust that your unseen allies are still active, even when you feel still. It means you believe that every unseen prayer has already been answered in motion. So walk with quiet confidence. Chosen one. The skies above are not indifferent. They are filled with witnesses. Angels. Stand where you stand. And when you move, heaven moves with you. You are never walking alone, not even for a heartbeat. Chosen one. Take a breath. The same heaven that watches over galaxies watches over you. You are part of a kingdom that never sleeps, guarded by grace and guided by love. So, when your path feels lonely, remember this: the unseen is more crowded than the seen. Now, seal this truth within you with a prophetic act. Comment, "Heaven sees me." Say it and mean it. These 3 words are not mere text, they are declaration. The moment comes. Chosen one. When heaven places something new upon your shoulders, you feel its invisible weight, a mixture of peace and power, of calling and cost. It is the mantle of the chosen, a garment not made of fabric, but of faith. You can't see it, yet you know it's there. It rests on your life like morning dew, soft, silent, yet undeniable. This mantle carries memory. It's woven from the threads of every storm you survived, every lesson learned, every battle fought in secret. Where others run from burden, you must recognize blessing disguised as weight. This covering changes how the world perceives you. Some will be drawn to your light, others will resist it. Do not take either reaction personally. The mantle carries a fragrance. Some recognize it as life. Others feel it as conviction. Either way, it reveals what surrounds you. This is why you must walk with humility. Power without humility becomes poison. According to what is revealed in the 2nd book of Kings, chapter 2, verse 15, the company of the prophets from Jericho said, "The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha." Those words are not distant history, they are a reflection of your present moment. What once rested on others is now resting on you. The same spirit that empowered great voices before is being entrusted to your generation. The mantle you wear carries the DNA of destiny. It's proof that heaven still invests in human vessels. Chosen one. Wearing this mantle means learning balance. You are both fragile and fierce, human and holy, grounded yet guided. It is like carrying lightning in your hands while walking barefoot on sacred ground. You will feel both power and trembling at once. because divine strength always rests upon surrendered weakness. The mantle also attracts responsibility. You will be called to intercede for others when they cannot pray for themselves. You will speak words that shift hearts, often when you least expect it. You will carry peace into rooms that have forgotten what peace feels like. The mantle turns your presence into a message. Even your silence will speak. To keep it pure, you must guard your spirit. Feed your faith with truth. Water it with worship, and shelter it from pride. The mantle thrives in humility. The moment you start chasing attention, it begins to fade. Remember, it was never given for performance, but for purpose. It's not about building a platform, it's about building people. And now, if these words have touched something deep in you, if you recognize that this mantle already rests upon your shoulders, let your heart respond in gratitude. Like this message as a quiet yes to heaven, not as routine, but as acknowledgement. I receive what you've placed on me. Share this message not as promotion, but as participation. Each time you share, imagine passing a spark from your torch to another soul, still searching for light. That's how mantles multiply, through the courage of those willing to carry fire forward. If you feel led, support or donate as an act of sowing back into the soil that nourishes your spirit. Think of it as adding oil to the lamp that continues to guide you and others through the night. Every drop matters. Every offering becomes another ember, keeping this flame alive. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to stay connected, not to a channel, but to a community of kindred spirits who, like you, carry unseen mantles. Each voice here is part of a growing choir of the called people, awakening to the realization that their lives are not accidents, but assignments. Chosen one. The mantle you wear will shape history in ways you cannot yet imagine. It will guide your words, influence your steps, and anoint your hands for works of restoration. You will not always see the impact, but heaven does. Every act of kindness, every word of faith, every moment you choose, integrity over ease, adds another stitch to this divine garment. Wear it with reverence, walk in it with grace, and remember, the mantle is not heavy to those who let God carry it with them. The mantle brings with it a sacred tension. Chosen one, the test of obedience. It is one thing to feel called, another to obey when the call costs something. God's voice rarely echoes in comfort. It often whispers through contradiction. The instruction he gives may not always make sense to your reason, but it always aligns with his rhythm. Obedience is the bridge between revelation and fulfillment. Without it, even the most powerful calling remains dormant. You've heard his prompting before, haven't you? Those moments when a gentle nudge in your spirit said, "Wait," while everything around you shouted, "Go," or when you were told, "Speak," though fear tightened your throat. These moments are not random, they are tests of trust. Each one asks the same question: will you obey when obedience costs you control? True obedience isn't measured in public acts, but in private surrender. It's in the decisions. No one sees the forgiveness you offer, the bitterness you bury, the patience you choose when impatience screams. It's saying yes when the outcome is hidden. It's staying when leaving feels easier, or leaving when staying feels safe. This is the sacred paradox of being chosen. God trains you through tension. He asks you to walk by faith, not sight. Not because he enjoys mystery, but because he's shaping maturity. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to stay connected, not to a channel, but to a community of kindred spirits who, like you, carry unseen mantles. Each voice here is part of a growing choir of the called people, awakening to the realization that their lives are not accidents, but assignments. Chosen one. The mantle you wear will shape history in ways you cannot yet imagine. It will guide your words, influence your steps, and anoint your hands for works of restoration. The path of obedience is the only road wide enough to carry both your calling and your peace. Every step taken in alignment with God's word ensures that what He gives will last. Blessing without obedience is temporary. Blessing with obedience becomes legacy. Chosen one. The test you face right now may feel confusing. God might be asking you to release something precious, an opportunity, a relationship, a dream. It feels like loss, but it's not. It's an exchange. Heaven never takes without the intention to replace. The instruction may sting, but the reward it conceals is immeasurable. When Abraham raised the knife over Isaac, obedience opened a new dimension of provision. When Moses obeyed and struck the sea, deliverance split history. When Mary said yes to a promise she couldn't explain, redemption entered the world. Your obedience carries that same weight. It's part of a divine chain reaction. The future shifts when you say yes. There are people whose freedom depends on your surrender. Entire atmospheres wait for your agreement. This is why your obedience will always be tested. It is the currency of heaven. And yet, obedience is not slavery. It's partnership. God doesn't command because He wants control. He commands because He wants collaboration. He wants to see if you trust His timing more than your plans. If you'll let go of the branch to reach the next one He's holding, there will be times when obedience isolates you. People won't understand why you stepped away from certain circles or refused to compromise. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. Obedience always changes a person. It reorders your priorities and redefines your peace. What used to appeal now feels empty, because obedience recalibrates appetite. When the test feels unbearable, remember that God is not silent because He is angry. He is silent because He's watching your response. Heaven gives instructions not to see if you can follow rules, but to see if you can follow love. For every act of obedience deepens intimacy with the one who called you. Chosen one. Obedience is not about perfection, it's about posture. God knows your humanity. He knows your hesitation, your questions, your fear. Yet, He still calls, not because you are flawless, but because you are willing. The smallest yes, spoken in sincerity, carries more power than 1,000 sacrifices born of pride. When you finally surrender to obedience, peace replace pressure. You stop trying to force doors open and instead watch God unlock them with ease. You stop fighting timing and start flowing in it. Obedience teaches you rhythm, the rhythm of grace, the cadence of trust, the melody of surrender. So when He speaks again, don't overthink it. Don't negotiate. Simply say, yes, Lord. That phrase, whispered in faith, shakes more of hell than any sermon ever could, because obedience is the echo of love, and love, when trusted, never leads you astray. When obedience takes root, chosen one, alignment begins to bloom. The world around you may look the same, but something underneath starts to move. What once resisted you begins to yield. What once seemed delayed begins to accelerate. It's not coincidence, it's coordination. Heaven starts aligning everything in your life according to divine order. The winds shift, the atmosphere clears, and paths that once seemed impossible begin to open before you like parted waters. Heaven's alignment is subtle at first. You start meeting the right people at the right time. Conversations turn into confirmations, and opportunities emerge without striving. It feels like destiny is breathing again. But alignment isn't only about doors opening, it's also about others closing. God is strategic. He doesn't just arrange what's ahead. He removes what no longer serves the journey. The same hand that connects also corrects. The pruning and the positioning are part of the same promise. Sometimes, divine alignment begins with disconnection. Relationships fade. Plans collapse. Familiar things stop fitting, and it hurts. You wonder why the ground beneath you feels unstable. But the shaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. Heaven is clearing the space for new construction. What once anchored you in the past can't hold the structure of your future. God must remove what's temporary to make room for what's eternal. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in the book of Proverbs. Chapter 3, verse 6. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. That ancient wisdom still breathes truth into your moment. Alignment begins not with effort, but with acknowledgement. When you stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start trusting his direction, heaven synchronizes every detail. The more you yield, the smoother your path becomes. Divine order is not about control, it's about cooperation. When your will harmonizes with God's, even chaos becomes choreography. Look around your life. Chosen one. What seems random is actually rhythmic. Every delay, every redirection, every no that wounded you was steering you toward a yes that will heal you. You are walking through divine design in real time. Heaven's alignment doesn't always announce itself. It often disguises as inconvenience. But what frustrates you now will one day make perfect sense. This alignment touches everything: your relationships, your timing, your purpose. People will begin to appear who carry the same spiritual frequency. Those who understand your journey without explanation. The season of forcing connection is ending. Authentic alignment has begun. Those meant to walk with you will recognize the mark of heaven on your life. They won't compete, they'll complement. They won't drain you, they'll draw destiny out of you. Chosen one. Even the ground beneath your feet is being restructured. Finances, opportunities, health, and influence. All are being positioned under divine governance. You may not see every detail yet, but trust that heaven is never careless. The author of time wastes nothing. Every thread is being woven, every piece adjusted, every moment refined. There is peace that comes when you realize you no longer have to force what God has already fixed. Alignment means release. You don't have to chase favor when you walk in it. The more you rest in obedience, the more heaven reveals its pattern. You'll start recognizing the fingerprints of God in things you once called coincidence. But be warned, alignment demands attentiveness. Not every open door is divine, and not every delay is demonic. You must discern. Stay prayerful. Stay anchored. Stay humble. God aligns not only your surroundings, but your spirit. He's teaching you to recognize his rhythm so that your steps won't stumble. And now, as heaven continues to synchronize your steps, mark this moment with a prophetic declaration. Comment the number 555 below, not for superstition, but for symbolism. 5 represents grace, multiplied grace. 555 is heaven's reminder that divine alignment is the fruit of divine favor. When you write that number, you are saying, I align with grace. I yield to God's direction. Let that number be a covenant between your faith and your future. Each time you see 555, remember that grace is guiding you where striving never could. You are not behind. You are exactly where divine timing placed you. You are not lost. Heaven has drawn the map beneath your feet. Chosen one. Breathe. Everything is being reordered in your favor. The same hand that wrote your beginning is already writing your breakthrough. You don't have to see every detail to trust the design. Alignment is heaven's quiet way of saying, I'm still in control. So walk forward without fear. Keep your heart open, your spirit soft, your focus steady. Heaven's alignment isn't coming, it's happening now. There comes a moment. Chosen one. When the battle narrows its focus to one, target your voice. The war for your mind was fierce, but the war for your voice is personal. The enemy doesn't fear your talent, your strength, or even your anointing as much as he fears your declaration. Because when you speak, heaven moves. Your words carry the breath of the one who sent you. When you release truth, light pierces darkness, and the plans of deception unravel. That is why your voice has been under such attack. The silence you've endured, the doubt that strangled your confidence, the isolation that made you question your worth, all of it was designed to mute you. The enemy knows that one sentence spoken under divine authority can break chains that generations accepted as permanent. He wants you quiet because your sound is a weapon. You have felt it, the tightening in your chest before you speak truth, the sudden confusion before you act, the heaviness that makes you hesitate. Those are not coincidences, they are coordinated distractions. The adversary understands the spiritual law of resonance. What you decree in faith echoes in heaven and manifests on earth. That's why the war has been so intense. You're not just finding your voice, you're recovering your weapon. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 1, verse 9. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. And that divine touch still burns through time. When God marks someone, he deposits vocabulary shaped by eternity. You, chosen one, carry language that unlocks hearts. You may not stand on a stage or hold a microphone, but your words carry spiritual weight, whether whispered in prayer, written in silence, or spoken to one trembling soul. They carry heaven's frequency. The battle for your voice often hides behind the appearance of ordinary challenges, exhaustion, busyness, fear of rejection. But beneath these distractions lies a darker motive, to separate you from your message. The enemy knows that when you stop speaking, you stop creating. Silence becomes a slow erosion of identity. Yet even when you felt voiceless, heaven still heard the cries beneath your breath. You must remember, chosen one, the power that lies in what you speak. God himself created the universe through sound. Light began, not with sight, but with speech. Let there be. That same creative essence flows through you when you declare peace over chaos, healing over pain, forgiveness over bitterness. You are participating in divine creation. Words shape worlds. The challenge is to keep your voice pure. Not every thought deserves a platform. You must choose which words carry your breath. For your breath is sacred. The same tongue that can bless can also bind. Learn to speak life intentionally, even when emotions tempt you otherwise. Every phrase you release carries vibration, either aligning with heaven or echoing with fear. Your silence has served a purpose, though it has trained you to listen before God trusts you to speak with authority. He teaches you to hear with humility. That's why the last season felt quiet. Heaven was tuning your frequency so that when you speak again, your words won't return empty. And now, something within you is shifting. The courage you thought you lost is stirring again. Your voice may tremble at first, but trembling voices still shake kingdoms. You don't need eloquence, you need authenticity. Speak even when afraid, for heaven amplifies faith, not volume. There will be moments when your voice feels small. When the world seems too loud for you to matter, remember Elijah on the mountain. The Lord was not in the wind, or the fire, or the earthquake, but in the gentle whisper. That whisper changed history. God doesn't need noise, He needs obedience. Chosen one, your sound carries assignment. Somewhere, someone waits to hear what only you can say. The melody of your faith will awaken others from despair. The truth in your testimony will release hope in hearts that have forgotten how to believe. You are not just a voice, you are an echo of divine intention, rebounding through time to remind creation that God still speaks. So guard your words. Speak deliberately. Forgive freely. Bless abundantly. When you open your mouth in love, angels lean in. When you pray, chains tremble. The war for your voice is proof that your sound matters. You are a trumpet of heaven wrapped in human form. The silence that once oppressed you will soon bow before the sound that now defines you. In the stillness after the battle, chosen one, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You sense it deep within an unveiling. A mystery long kept hidden, now stirring at the surface of your spirit. It feels ancient, yet intimate. Distant, yet directed precisely toward you. Heaven is opening a scroll, one that has waited through generations to be read. And your name is written upon its seal. This is the hidden scroll, the revelation reserved for those who have endured the refining fire and remained faithful when others turned away. You may not fully understand it yet, but revelation always comes wrapped in mystery. God hides certain truths, not to deny you, but to develop you. Some revelations cannot be received by the impatient. They require stillness. The scroll is not opened in noise. It unfolds in the silence of surrender. When your heart quiets, heaven begins to speak. The prophet Daniel once described visions sealed until the appointed time. You, chosen one, are living in such a moment. What was hidden from your understanding in past seasons is now being revealed because your spirit has matured enough to receive it. Heaven never wastes words. Revelation is timed to readiness. The scroll opens only when the reader is trusted. As the prophet wrote in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4, "But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. Those ancient instructions echo now, across time. We are the generation of unveiling. What was once concealed in symbols and parables is becoming clear to those who carry the fire of discernment. God is releasing mysteries to the ones who have proven faithful in silence, the ones who listen more than they speak, who seek truth more than attention. The hidden scroll represents wisdom born of endurance. Every trial you've survived has written a line upon your soul. Every scar, a verse of divine poetry. This is not the scroll of future events alone. It is also the record of your transformation. It contains the understanding of why you walked through what you did, why certain doors closed, why certain storms came. Each line reveals that none of it was wasted. Heaven keeps perfect notes on redemption. When the scroll opens, clarity comes in waves. Old memories begin to make sense. Past tears turn to teaching. You start to see your pain as prophecy, every wound pointing toward purpose. What once felt like punishment becomes proof that heaven was preparing you for deeper revelation. The scroll reveals that what broke you also built you. But revelation carries responsibility. The hidden scroll is not a souvenir of spirituality. It is a summons. Once you know truth, you must live it. Once you receive light, you must walk in it. Revelation not lived becomes rebellion. God doesn't unveil mysteries to entertain curiosity, but to ignite obedience. The deeper you go, the more He expects. Chosen one. This unveiling may also isolate you. Revelation always separates the called from the comfortable. When you begin to see what others do not, misunderstanding follows. People will label your insight as pride or exaggeration, but pay them no mind. The scroll is not for everyone. It's for those willing to carry revelation with reverence. Some truths must be guarded like sacred fire, shared only when the Spirit leads, never when the ego insists. As the hidden scroll unrolls, you'll notice your discernment sharpening. You'll sense deception quicker, feel spiritual shifts before they manifest, and recognize divine timing with precision. This isn't coincidence, it's consequence. Heaven rewards those who wait with eyes wide open. Your patience has become permission for deeper vision. Sometimes, revelation feels heavy. The more you see, the more you carry. But remember, God never burdens the heart He hasn't strengthened. The same Spirit that reveals will sustain. What He shows you isn't meant to frighten, but to fortify. You are being trained to interpret divine language fluently, to see through chaos and call forth order, to discern the whisper of purpose behind every storm. Chosen one. The hidden scroll has always existed. It waited quietly until your obedience unlocked it. What it contains is not just prophecy but identity. It reveals not only what God will do, but who you have become. You are no longer merely a believer, you are a bearer of secrets, a keeper of light. Heaven trusts you with what it cannot entrust to many. And as you hold this revelation, remember, it's not the end of discovery, but the beginning of responsibility. The more heaven reveals, the more earth will require of you. But fear not. The same God who opened the scroll will teach you how to carry its contents with grace. For revelation is not a crown, it is a call to serve in truth. The scroll reveals that what broke you also built you. But revelation carries responsibility. The hidden scroll is not a souvenir of spirituality, it is a summons. Once you know truth, you must live it. Once you receive light, you must walk in it. Revelation not lived becomes rebellion. God doesn't unveil mysteries to entertain curiosity, but to ignite obedience. The deeper you go, the more he expects. Chosen one. This unveiling may also isolate you. You have felt it, the heaviness that pressed against your soul when you tried to rise, the ache of surrender when obedience cost you dearly. Yet, through it all, the light never went out. You kept walking. Even when the road was paved with questions, that perseverance was your worship. You didn't realize it then. But every step you took beneath the cross was molding the shape of your future crown. There is a divine paradox here. What feels like loss becomes the soil of legacy. God hides resurrection inside crucifixion. You cannot skip the grave and still hold the glory. The pain you survived was the furnace that purified your gold. It taught you compassion, gave you authority, and deepened your dependence on grace. The ancient words written in Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, speak to this mystery. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory revealed in us. This verse doesn't dismiss your pain, it dignifies it. It promises that every ounce of sorrow has purpose, that no suffering is meaningless when it's surrendered to God. Your scars are not stains, they are signatures of survival. You are walking proof that resurrection is real, not just as a doctrine, but as a daily miracle. Chosen one. You have carried your cross through valleys few understand. You've been misunderstood, criticized, even abandoned by those you hoped would walk beside you. Yet here you are still standing, still believing, still radiant. That is the glory beginning to emerge from the ashes. What others thought would bury you became the ground from which your testimony now blooms. The crown is not made of gold and jewels, it is made of endurance and surrender. Every yes whispered through tears has become a gem upon it. Every battle you won quietly in your spirit is another sparkle of divine recognition. The crown is invisible to most, but heaven sees it shining brightly. You have become the reflection of perseverance clothed in grace. And now, as you stand between the memory of your cross and the promise of your crown, heaven extends an invitation not just to celebrate, but to continue. The light upon you is not meant to be contained. It's meant to illuminate others. The same comfort that healed you now flows through you. If this message has stirred your spirit, let your response be an echo of gratitude. Like this message, not for vanity, but as a way of saying, I see the purpose in my pain. Share it as an act of compassion. Someone else may be carrying a cross tonight, and your small gesture could become their reminder that resurrection is still possible. If your heart feels led, support or donate to keep this flame burning. Imagine it as pouring oil into a lamp that guides countless souls through the night. Every act of generosity, no matter the size, keeps the message alive for those who need it most. You are not merely giving, you are partnering with purpose. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so we can continue this walk together. This isn't just another voice in the crowd. It's a community of chosen ones, people like you, who carry both cross and crown with reverence. Every message shared, every word spoken here, is another step toward the greater light God is unveiling among us. Finally, I ask you to leave a comment below, a reflection from your heart. Write about a moment when your pain taught you something sacred, or simply say, I understand. Your words might be the lifeline someone else is waiting to grasp. Heaven often moves through the simplicity of shared stories. Chosen one. Wear your scars as sacred jewels. They are proof that the cross did not crush you, it crowned you. You were not broken to be buried, you were broken to be built. And what God builds through suffering, no storm can dismantle. Walk forward now with quiet strength. Lift your head. The crown sits perfectly upon you. Forged from the fire, you survived. Every heartbeat is a reminder that glory has already begun. It begins quietly. Chosen, one like the first whisper of wind before a great storm of light. What has been ignited within you refuses to stay contained. The anointing that once felt personal now pulses outward, rippling across hearts, households, and horizons. Heaven's design was never for your transformation to end with you. It was meant to awaken nations. What God has deposited in your spirit carries a frequency powerful enough to stir sleeping souls across the earth. At first, you will notice it in small ways. People will approach you, drawn not to your appearance, but to the peace you carry. Strangers will confide in you without knowing why. Conversations will shift from surface to spirit, and you will feel heaven moving between words. This is the awakening beginning to spread the divine fire, leaping from heart to heart like sparks in dry grass. You may not hold a microphone or stand behind a pulpit, but your life has become a sermon. Every act of kindness is a proclamation. Every word of forgiveness is a declaration of God's reign. The awakening of nations rarely begins with noise. It begins with presence, one yielded heart that refuses to dim its light. The book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, carries this timeless command. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This verse is not a suggestion, it is an activation. When heaven says, arise, creation listens. When God commands his chosen to shine, darkness has no choice but to retreat. The same glory that once hovered above the tabernacle now rests upon your life. It is not a halo of pride, but a mantle of responsibility. You are not just illuminated, you are illumination. The awakening is not about building empires of religion, it is about restoring the rhythm of divine love to the earth. It is the heartbeat of heaven, echoing through ordinary people who dare to believe that light can still overcome the deepest night. Nations do not change because of speeches, they change because of presence. And your presence, anointed by grace, carries the sound of transformation. This movement is not political or cultural, it is spiritual. It begins in unseen spaces, in prayer, in repentance, in acts of mercy that no one applauds. The revival heaven sends through you will not look like the revivals of old. It will not be confined to buildings or limited by geography. It will move through digital streams, whispered prayers, and quiet obediences. It will flow through art, through work, through compassion. The awakening of nations will come not from the top down, but from the inside out. Chosen one, you are a living embassy of heaven. Everywhere you go, the atmosphere has a chance to change. When you walk into a place burdened by fear, peace follows. When you speak where bitterness has taken root, grace blooms. You are the evidence that God has not abandoned the world. The light you carry is both message and miracle. But with this awakening comes weight. The more influence light gains, the more shadows it exposes. Some will resist your presence, not because they hate you, but because the truth you carry challenges the comfort they've built. Do not take their resistance personally. Even Jesus faced rejection in his own town. Shine anyway. Light was never meant to retreat before darkness. This awakening is not a moment, it is a movement. And you are part of its pulse. The same fire that was once flickering within you now burns like a beacon. It calls to others, scattered across nations, other chosen ones, other torchbearers, waiting to recognize their reflection in your flame. When they see you stand, they will find strength to rise. When they hear your story, they will remember their own. Your journey was never just about survival, it was about succession. You carry the torch that others will one day hold. Every word of truth you speak becomes a seed planted in the soil of another heart. You are part of a chain reaction that stretches from this moment into eternity. The awakening of nations is not somewhere far off. It has already begun. It is in the teacher who prays silently for her students, the artist who paints light into brokenness, the mother who forgives again, the worker who chooses honesty over gain. The kingdom spreads through everyday acts of obedience that ripple outward in unseen power. And so, chosen one, stand firm in this awakening. Let the light flow through your hands, your words, your very presence. The glory resting upon you was never meant to end with you. It is meant to multiply. For every spark that rises from your life, another soul will catch flame, and the night will grow thinner until the world glows with the reflection of its Creator once more. When the light spreads beyond you, chosen one, heaven seals what it has begun. This final moment is not an ending, but an establishment, the confirmation that what God started in secret has become eternal. You stand now at the threshold of fulfillment, where faith has matured into sight and promise has become presence. The air feels different, charged with a quiet certainty. You sense that heaven itself is bearing witness to this sealing. This is the eternal seal, the invisible imprint of divine ownership pressed upon your life. It is not made of ink or symbol. It is written in light upon your spirit. You can't see it, but all of creation can. The realms of darkness recognize it and retreat. The angels recognize it and rejoice. Heaven knows who you are now, and nothing on earth or in hell can rewrite that identity. You have passed through fire, waited through silence, endured the weight of the cross, and embraced the mantle of purpose. Every stage has shaped you for this moment. The seal is not a reward for perfection, it is a mark of completion. It declares, "This one belongs to me." The Father does not seal those he is still testing, he seals those he trusts. The Apostle wrote in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13, "When you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit." Oh, that truth has always been written in heaven, but now you feel it burning within you. The seal is not merely divine approval, it is divine habitation. The Spirit no longer just visits you, are his dwelling. Every breath you take is shared breath with eternity. You are not simply accompanied by God, you are inhabited by him. This is the mystery angels marvel at, that the infinite would make a home within the fragile, chosen one. This seal changes everything. It transforms your identity from seeker to son, from survivor to steward. It anchors you when the winds of doubt return. You no longer need to prove your worth. The seal proves it for you. You no longer need to chase acceptance. Heaven's signature already rests upon your heart. This is your final affirmation. You are His, fully and forever. With this seal comes authority. It is not the authority of dominance, but of presence, the kind that stills storms simply by existing in alignment. You no longer need to force outcomes. Your being carries impact. When you enter a place, peace follows. When you speak truth, deception bends. Not because of who you are alone, but because of who seals you. You have become a walking covenant, a breathing reminder that heaven keeps its promises. But remember, chosen one. The seal is not an ornament, it is an oath. It binds you to faithfulness, to purity, to compassion. To carry this mark is to carry heaven's reputation. The world will read God through your life. You are now a living letter, written not with ink, but with spirit. Every action you take writes another line of His love into history. The seal calls you to live aware, to move intentionally, to reflect the one who now rests within. This seal also protects. It is your invisible covering in times of uncertainty. Even when you cannot sense God's nearness, the mark remains. You are never unguarded. No curse can cling to what heaven has claimed. No darkness can penetrate what has been sealed by light. You may still face storms, but they cannot undo what eternity has declared permanent. As you look back, you'll see the pattern. Every pain prepared the ground for permanence. The trials that once threatened to erase you have only engraved you deeper into destiny. You are no longer defined by wounds, you are defined by witness. The very scars that once symbolized suffering now shine as proof of sealing. And now, the journey that began in uncertainty ends in unshakable assurance. The voice that once whispered your name in the wilderness now speaks it with thunder over the nations. This is my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. The heavens echo, the earth responds, and your spirit finally rests. You may not see the seal with your eyes, but you will feel its peace. It is the quiet knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. It is the strength that rises when fear tries to return. It is the calm that comes when storms rage around you. You are sealed, unchanged by circumstance, unmoved by opinion, untouched by doubt. The eternal seal does not end your story. It begins your legacy. For what God seals, He sends. You are not finished, you are released. Go forward as one marked by heaven, a living testament that light is stronger than darkness, love deeper than loss, and promise louder than pain. The scroll is closed, the seal is set, and the glory within you will speak for generations to come. Chosen one. If your spirit feels lighter, if your heart feels steadier, it is because heaven has spoken and your soul has listened. You have journeyed through fire and revelation, through silence and awakening, and now you stand crowned with understanding. But this moment is not the end. It is the beginning of a new walk in power, peace, and divine clarity. You have been sealed, strengthened, and sent. Now, let what you've received ripple outward. Like this message, if it has stirred something sacred in you, not for numbers, but as a quiet offering of gratitude, a signal to heaven that you recognize its touch. Share it if it brought comfort or confirmation. Someone else might be standing where you once stood, needing only one spark of light to remember who they are. When you share truth, You become its messenger. You turn one flame into many. And darkness has no answer for multiplied light. And I invite you to leave a comment below, a thought, a testimony, a simple, "I receive this." Your words might become the whisper that steadies another soul. Heaven moves through community as much as it does through solitude. Finally, subscribe and stay connected to this flow of revelation. Each message is another piece of a divine mosaic, unfolding across time, a living reminder that God still speaks, still calls, still chooses. We are not just watchers of the sacred, we are participants in it. So carry this truth with you. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. And you are certainly not ordinary. You are one of God's chosen ones, sealed with purpose and sent with light. Let your life continue to preach what words can only echo. The world will feel the difference,